So our next task is to create a left paddle object, and if we are looking at our code, we went ahead and created a paddle class, and all we created so far was the constructor, the init function, the init method, and in the init method, its job is to create all the instance variables and initialize them to their values, to their initial values. Yeah, and so now we want to create a object of left paddle, of type left paddle, right? So this paddle 1 is the paddle on the left side, and that's the one that I want to create. So I'm going to come right over here, and the way I do it is I'm going to say left underscore paddle, and I'm going to make that variable equal to an object of type paddle. And the way I do that is I say the paddle class's name, give the 2 parentheses, and then give it any arguments that I need to. And it needs the width, the height, and the speed. Oh, I think it also needs the x location. Yes, it also needs the x and y, no, not the y location, but the x position. So let's do x position. And why does it need that? Because our different paddles are going to be placed on different positions on the x-axis, right? So that's going to be different for each paddle. So then first thing we're going to do is we're going to pass it the width, and then we're going to pass it the height. Yeah, the height. And then we're going to pass it the speed. And then lastly, we're going to pass it the x position, which is this first argument in the rect. Because if you remember, the rect is simply an object that contains positional information of this surface, right, of that sprite. And the first 2 instance variables of this rect object is the x position, and then it's the y position, and then it's the width and the height, right? There are more, but we don't need to talk about them just yet. There's more like left, right, top, bottom, center x, center y, things like that, right? But they all have to do with the position of this surface here. So I'm going to take this, and I am going to pass it as my last argument to the constructor of my left paddle, and then I should be good to go. So then when I run my program, it's going to come down here, run main. It's going to jump up to the main definition. It's going to come over here. It's going to do all of these things. And then when it gets to line 38, what is it going to do? It's going to be invoking the constructor of the paddle class, which is going to jump up to here. And then xpos is going to be the left side of the screen, so it's going to be, I think, like 40 or something like that, a low number. And then it's going to construct all of these instance variables, the width, the height, the speed, the image, and the rect for my left paddle. And then once this finishes, it's the end of the constructor. It's going to jump right back down to here. And all of those variables are going to be packaged up into an object, and they're going to be stuck into this left paddle variable, right? So then once I have that, I could say left underscore paddle dot speed, right? And I could print this out. And what does that mean? It means, okay, the left paddle object, let's go into his bag of variables, and let's pull out the speed variable, right? So I could do something like print speed, and it should print the number 8. So let me go ahead and run that. Paddle has no attribute speed. Okay, so we call it p speed. So this is actually redundant, right? The p, because we already know that he is a paddle. So let's get rid of all the p's here. I didn't realize that when I first put it together. So we just want to do height width, right? Okay, so then we come on down to here. We have left paddle dot speed. It would be redundant if I said left paddle dot p speed, right? Because you got p paddle, you got both of those there, so it's additional information that you don't need. And we got it going on, and you can notice down here we have the 8 being printed out to the screen, which is this printout right here, right? So what is it doing? It's going into the bag of variables that is the left paddle variable, and it is pulling out the speed instance variable from its bag, and it's printing out the value of this speed variable. Okay, so so what we are doing by running line 38 and creating an object of type an object of type paddle is we are doing this, okay, and we are doing this as well. and we're actually doing this, that, and that as well. Okay, so by doing this, we can go ahead and remove these 2 lines, and we can also remove these 3 lines, because in the challenge exercise you are going to create the right paddle object, right, using the same methodology. The only thing that you want to be careful of is the X position of the right paddle, because that is different from the X position of the left paddle. And once you do create that right paddle object, you would go ahead and delete all of these 2 lines, because by doing this, you are doing this, except now you're packaging up in an object, right? So it's the exact same code. Like, so when you're thinking about procedural code, which is what we did in Pong 1, and we're thinking about object-oriented code, it's the same set of instructions run in the exact same order. It's just packaged differently. It's just written differently, right? The control flow of the program is different. But that's something I can't stress enough, because when I was taking programming classes in college and we got to objects, it was a mystery. I thought there was like magic going on. I thought there was like stuff that I didn't understand that was going on in the background, right? But that's not true. Okay, so it's the exact same code running in the exact same order. It's just the control flow of the program is different. In the similar way that code that's all written without any functions, and that same code that's written with functions is the exact same code that executed in the exact same order, just using a different control flow. Okay, so so I'm going to go ahead and delete this stuff because I don't need it anymore. I have it all packaged up in my left paddle variable as an object, and I don't need this stuff anymore either, right? And you won't either once you make your left paddle and you make your right paddle.